Okay, SMX Facts. We bring in the statistician Clinton Fowler. Trying to take this year as a whole, there's probably 900 different interesting stats you could bring us, but I know one you want to focus on is the one that got everyone buzzing at the very start of the year, Clinton, and that was Jett Lawrence mentioning 72 wins of Jeremy McGrath and Supercross was a goal. What are you seeing when it comes to those types of numbers?
Yeah, he definitely caused a stir when he made that goal statement at the beginning of the season, but he did deliver. Through the 17 starts, he got 8 wins. And when you compare that to the greats, to the Jeremy McGraths and the James Stewarts, he ended up having more through 17 starts than they did. James Stewart has 7, Jeremy McGrath had 6, and guys named Chad Reed, Ryan Dungey, and Damon Bradshaw had 5. So his 8 wins through 17 starts is tied for the fastest with a gentleman named Jimmy Ellis. But nonetheless, he is on pace for that 72. So the goal is there. Now, JT, the interesting part is if you look forward to next year and you think about 17 more starts, so we would have 34 at the end of next year. He needs to win 12 more next year to keep pace with James Stewart. He needs to win 10 more to keep pace with Jeremy McGrath. And so the question to you, JT, what's his limit? What's his ceiling here? How many can he win in 2025?
I certainly think it's possible. To win 10 races next year is doable for the likes of Jett Lawrence. You know, when you start to think big picture, though, can he get to 72? That's where the variables start to come into play. How long does he race for? Can he stay healthy? I don't believe the competitiveness of this question will be the biggest factor. I think he can win a handful, 5 to 12 races, depending on how seasons go, for a very long time. It's the longevity part that I wonder about. Like, if he dominates for the next 5 years, does he stick around? Because that's what he will need to do to go after 72.
I'm glad you brought that point up, JT. Yes, when that got out that Jett said a goal was 72, he did catch some heat. And what his camp explained, talking to his dad, is they're not saying he's going to do this. They are trying to find ways to keep Jett in the game. To your point, is he going to stick around? Well, one of the ways you stick around is setting a goal that requires many, many, many years. So you don't retire early, you don't lose focus, you don't get distracted. It's kind of startling, though, how far away that actually is. But longevity, Clinton, we can point this out. Longevity does come easier in this sport now. And maybe Eli Tomac is the best example of that.
I mean, a great example. Eli Tomac, let's talk about this next memorable stat from the season. 219 podiums in his career. All classes, both Supercross and Pro Motocross. Here's a guy who's had longevity, and not only just longevity, but he's done so at the top of the game, and he's still at the top of the game. His 7 podiums this year put him ahead of Ricky Carmichael for the most all-time in the sport. Absolutely incredible. I just think about that St. Louis win where he swept the Triple Crown. Just a great season to see him continue to perform at a top level. And JT, looking forward to next year. We get one more season of the legend, and he's got another goal, I guess you could put in place, 3 more podiums, and he would tie Chad Reed for premier class total podiums with 176. 4, and he passes him. And so I think that looks like an easy one, JT, but what do you think?
Well, it's an incredible stat. When you start to look at the numbers he's putting up, and you hear this term accumulator thrown around, but it's so often associated to mediocrity, right? You look at well, he's not a Hall of Fame guy. Yes, his numbers are really high, but it's just hung around for so long. The exception here is a guy like Eli Tomac, who has those numbers to be the accumulator, but it's through excellence, right? That is really the differentiation here, and what makes him so special is he is putting up insane numbers of podium finishes, of wins. He's the second all-time winningest rider in Supercross. Those things don't come along very often, so he is that rare breed where he's got the longevity, the insane amount of numbers, wins, races, podiums, all those things, and it's also on the side of the excellence where it's the top bar, top tier. It's an incredible run he's had. And I think it's a career we'll look back on and only appreciate more once it's over.
Here's what I love about it. I remember when Eli first broke in, when he was the young guy like Jett Lawrence, and he actually got into a little rivalry with Chad Reed. Chad Reed had some brash things to say, as Chad Reed usually does. Eli actually knocked him down in a race and then said, It's weird because I had his jersey on my wall and posters when I was a kid. I looked up to Chad. Now I got to battle him. We kind of hear the same thing with Jett Lawrence, looking up to Eli Tomac growing up, and now they're battling on the track. So there's that longevity, Clinton. I feel like a lot of these numbers, the numbers we're used to, are going to change because the riders just can stick around longer.
Yeah, I mean, this generation of riders from Eli Tomac, Justin Barcia, Jason Anderson, they're sticking around for a lot more years than the previous generation. So maybe Jett will even surpass all of these numbers we're talking about.
That's right. Hey, keeping the stars in the game is a good thing. And if you got to set big goals to keep them in, that's fine with everybody involved, because you heard what they were cheering for when Eli Tomac was out front. So thanks for the stats, Clinton, all year long. I'm sure we'll have a lot more interesting ones next year.
Hi, folks. Lee Diffie from NBC Sports here. If you truly enjoyed what you just watched, you can get more news, interviews, and highlights by subscribing to the Motorsports on NBC YouTube page. You can get it all, so go for it.